Hello, you. Um, I'd love you to join me on a little spiritual exploration of a very brutal insight someone offered recently to me, which is this idea that perfectionism is death. That's not a nice thought, is it? Um, so let me give you some context on that, because I think it adds up, and there's also like a really beautiful message for people like us. If you can relate to perfectionism, this relentlessly high standards, this desire to fix, improve, do, affect change in the world to make it a better place. And our work is never done, and of course, it's all on us to make the universe a better place. Us perfectionists, relentless triers and strivers that we are, our work is never done. Um, so, yeah, a thing I've noticed about um, people like us is that the logical conclusion of all this doing and fixing and solving and improving and going out in the world and trying to make it different or better place is that if that work is done and complete, one day the world will leave us alone. Life will leave us alone. We'll be able to rest in peace and serenity and have a break. Like our job will be done. It will be over. It will be complete. Like the universe is perfect, right? That's what it is. The logical conclusion of our constant striving to make everything just so is perfection. Another word for everything I've just described, where we can rest peacefully because all our work is done and no more needs doing and life will leave us alone, is death. Yes, it is. When we are dead, our work is done. Life will leave us alone. The universe may or may not be perfect, but that's certainly the logical conclusion of what it is. It's like almost like perfection is death, because death is the state in which we will be unbothered by all these pesky requirements to fix, solve, change, do, make everything better in the world. And that scared me a little bit, because essentially what I'm doing, if I am blind to and submit and surrender and follow the course that my perfectionism wants me to follow, which is to relentlessly pursue this agenda of fixing, changing, doing, completing. Essentially, it is just a path to, at the very best, dissatisfaction, because I'm obviously never going to fix, improve the world, or certainly everything in it, although I will try. The logical conclusion of it is death. I will reach a state of being unbothered and left alone by life. And when I think about it like that, or maybe when you think about it like that, so is that what you want? Do you really want to be unbothered and left alone by life so that you can finally be in peace in darkness and blackness, in essentially nothingness? I'm not sure I want that. And I'm pretty sure that if you're anything like me or you have perfectionism in your life, you don't want that either. Because there's a thing that unites a lot of the experience in the perfectionists I've certainly worked with and coached, is that they crave, desire, long for, yearn for aliveness, for spark, for to be engaged in the flow of life, to feel its depth and its intensity, to sample the range of its delights, of all of it. You know, inside every perfectionist, I've said this before, is like a little soul child that doesn't care for consequence and just wants to experience pleasure and self-centered pleasure. And I think this is, it gets repressed. You may not be able to relate to this or identify with it, but I found that beneath all the noise and distraction and interference, inside every perfectionist is this unswerving optimism and lust for life that has been contracted and tightened around. And that is your spirit, your soul, you could say, that just wants to feel alive and to experience aliveness. And that is, of course, not death. It's to fully engage in the flow of life, experience life, and sample all of its delights and all of its pleasures. But of course, perfectionism is going to come along and say, well, we can have that, but once the work is done, right? That's the trick that perfectionism wants to play. It says, we can have the pleasure when we've had the pain. And life is a lot of pain and suffering because everything's wrong. And it's everything needs fixing, improving, making better, solving, perfecting. And of course, it's on you to do that, you alone usually. So it will trick you and say that go through the pain, go through the suffering, because on the other side of that is the pleasure that you deserve, the thing that you want, the kind of yeah, that aliveness. But of course it isn't, because we now know that perfectionism is death. What lies on the other side of perfectionism's trick is that sense of being unbothered, untouched by life. So I guess it's down the question down that leads us towards the question: can you have your pleasure now? I bet that's edgy. If you're a perfectionist like me, it's like, no, you have this kind of puritanical work ethic where it's you do your homework first, you know, you eat your greens and then you can have your pudding sort of thing. Do your homework, then you can have your treats and you can go out and play with your friends. That is the message many of us were given when we were younger. You know, I often did that. I would revise and do my homework first so that I could relax and have fun later, knowing that kind of my conscience was clear. It was almost like I couldn't relax until all the things were done, you know. And again, that's another trick that the perfectionist strategy will play. It says that I won't let you relax, I won't let you have pleasure, I won't let you experience life until you've done all the things and then died, you know, because perfectionism is death, as we said. And I don't want that. I don't know about you, but I want the pleasure now. I want the joy now, and I don't want undeserved Epicurean indulgence. You know, I think that's the fear in a lot of perfectionists that I coach. They have this worry that if they have the pleasure now, if they have the things that they want, if they sample life now without the struggle and the suffering first, that somehow they'll lose control or become a bad person or become a nihilist or just become a self-centered, narcissistic, ego-centered glutton, you know, a waste of space that just consumes and consumes and doesn't contribute anything good or useful to the world. Trust me, that ain't going to happen. Perfectionism is not going to let you do that. There are too many layers of defense. But can we find some kind of pleasure now in the moment without getting to perfection? That's the path, I think. That's the spiritual path for us, is to not defer everything until we've done our homework and we've been good little boys and girls, and then we get the rewards and the love that we crave at the end of it. Is to bring some into the present moment now. Is to sample life and aliveness as it is here. The other, I guess, spiritual reframe, and this may be a bit of an ask, but it's to look for the aliveness in the present moment. It's to embrace the fact that aliveness is inherently imperfect, right? The universe is inherently imperfect. Everything will always be incomplete, broken, wrong, not just so, not the way we like it. That is, sorry, but a fact of life. That is the way life is now. And it's engaging in life as it is already and finding some way to find peace with that, or at least choosing your battles, you know, not choosing to fix, solve, improve everything. Just choosing your strategic battles. I'll fix and improve and solve that, but I'm going to let that go. And finding a place of, I guess, serenity, you might call it mindfulness, or peace and joy, where you can play with the uncertainty and the brokenness and the imperfection of life as it is right now. The imperfection of existence. Can you find it in the present moment? And there are countless spiritual practices to help you with that. Good luck. I'm not going to get them in a 10-minute video. But yeah, wishing you the peace and unbotheredness of life now, as it is. I think that's the place to go. I hope you find some comfort in here somewhere. I hope you find joy in the aliveness that it is. I find that when a perfectionist is in a state of safety, regulation, and calm, it's a lot easier to accept life in its imperfect state. When you're stressed, overwhelmed, anxious, contracted, tightened, unsupported, alone, that's when it's really hard to accept the invitations that I've offered here. So the first step towards that is finding comfort, safety right now, and that happens through the body, but that's not the topic for this video. You'll have to dive into my other work to find that, I think, or a topic for another post. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.